Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Don't mind my dancing. That theme song gets me every time. Like that don't get hype. But welcome everybody. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for watching. I see some comments. My mom texted me at 7:02. I'm sorry I was having a conversation with the guests and I just realized the clock went past 7 o'clock. But hey mom, you are the best. Jim, James, my man, my brother in real life, man. I love you to death, bro. Thank you for your support. Real definition of a friend right there, man. But thank y'all for joining this episode of the My Brother Show. I am your host, Maurice Rush. You can follow me on Instagram at Rush Stiller. You can follow the show on Instagram at the My Brother Show. I'm really excited about this. This is great. Like this whole series that I'm on this season is just like amazing. On so many different levels. It's helped me break through and work through so many things on my end. And the guests have just been so insightful to this point. So we did an amazing episode about pride with my blood brother Jamil and my good friend Kevin 2 weeks ago, and now I'm back to follow up with this episode from what was two lovely women that I know. We're going to talk about pride and how women observe pride in the men in their lives. So I'll introduce the guests in a second. First, my two housekeepings that I do at the start of every episode. Follow on Instagram. Please follow on Instagram at the My Brother Show. Every follow helps. Every share helps. Every like helps. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. Click that like and subscribe button. And any donations that you want to send can be sent to $ my brother. Again, like I told y'all 2 weeks ago, I broke my tripod, so I got to get a new tripod. I also need a new microphone. I broke my little headset. I don't even know where it's at, but you can see my headphones that I'm usually wearing, like the side fell off on one end. So we got you know, we working over here though. But I'm back. I'm here. I'm not going to ramble for too long. I'm going to introduce my lovely guest right now. So first, I don't know who to introduce first. I can see him backstage. I'm gonna see who smiled first. That's how I'll make the decision. All right. I see who smiled first. So first, this is a lovely lady. Amazing insight. Amazing. Like I talk all the time about how certain people you can just talk to about any subject, and they know how to blend in. They know how to fit in. And they bring a lot to the table with it. I actually met her through a mutual acquaintance of ours. I was on a podcast. I don't even know if I was technically on a podcast with her. We might have been like on someone else's live together, and like the connection there was evident. And I got to see how wise she was. And then I'm always listening to my buddy's podcast, so I get to hear her insight on a normal. She's the unofficial third host of the Two Kings podcast. She is from all the way from the capital, Washington, D.C. And I'm very excited to introduce Mimi to the show. Mimi.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad I can. Yeah, we met the ride. It was the ride. I'll talk if you listen, right?
Yep, Tim, he popped up on a live and Nah and Ace was like, we need you to get on right now. And I was like, okay. And I hopped on and then it flowed like effortlessly. And
Yeah,
Tim
so
was like, "Yeah, I'll be contacting you," and I was like, "Y'all are signing me up for podcasts left and right."
Tim's an amazing guy, man. Shout out to Tim. He's
He's
an
great.
amazing guy. Tim is younger than me, but at one point we worked together, and he was my boss, and he just taught me so much, not just from like an employment standpoint, but like from like a life standpoint. He was the first person that like I ever like, cause like from a work standpoint, I didn't really like his management style, but he
Hmm.
was the first person I was like, I really like you as a person. I just don't
Right.
really like your management style. And like, I like that's something that's followed me like throughout my entire career though. From that moment, like I'm able to be in places and like I'll have small talk with somebody, but then when it comes to work, I'm like, eh. And then I'll say
Yeah.
to him like, yeah, there's no personal beef between us. I just don't always agree with your management style. So
Yeah,
shout out to
funny.
him
The
for
episode he
that.
was on with us, we talked about like mentorship and like leadership
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So he had a lot of good insight. So
Yeah, he's real good guy, man. Real good guy. That's my man. You getting a hey Mimi from my bro Jimmy. You're getting a hey
hey,
Mimi. So let me introduce this second amazing panelist. Oh my goodness, I'm so honored that I get to have her come on. Oh man, she's been honestly, she's one of the people who I credit with the fact that I'm at this point now. So she was one of the first people that said, "Hey, Maurice, you have a gift to connect with men." She was one of the first people that said, "Hey, you've been talking about this my brother thing for a year. What the heck are you doing with it?" And she's constantly been on me. Like whenever I try to like take a break, like if too many weeks go by, she's like, "Yo, I ain't seen nothing from my brother in a while." So, she's been an amazing supporter. I don't even think she realizes sometimes. I was listening to something that Allen Iverson said one time, and he was like, "When you're doing great things, you don't realize that you're doing great things, like when you're in the midst of it." So I am forever grateful for the role that she has played in my life. She is top 5 realtors dead or alive. She does amazing work with young moms, and I am so happy to have the beautiful, the excellent Katia Whitaker. Tia,
sound like a
Hey, oh
slap.
my goodness, I don't feel worthy of that amazing introduction, but thank you.
Mimi, that was no shade to you.
Listen, let me tell y'all. Every time I appear on Two Kings, they hype me, and I'm like, y'all, I'm not that great. Calm down. Y'all gonna have people out here thinking I'm like top dog. Let's not do that. So you deserve that, Tia. Definitely, I'm sure.
Baby. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to be on. Thanks, Reese, for having me. And I just want to say publicly to you, I am extremely proud of you and the work that you're doing. This show is amazing and so impactful. And it was meant for men, but as a woman, I take so much from it. So the
uh,
kudos really go to you.
Right,
oh
right.
man, thank you so much. I'll never forget we were leaving church one day and you were like, Maurice, the men at that church love you so much. When are you
Yes,
going
they
to do
do.
something with it? I was like, and I'm all heavy at this point in my life, like, oh, no one's going to listen to me. And you got put. You shout out to Tia, shout out to AB. She was a big one. Your sister Kelly was another amazing one that was on me. You guys are amazing, man. Those little nudges, while they seem insignificant in the moment, they do amazing things to confidence. Because when you're trying to get out of your own way, and we'll get about this when we talk about pride, right? It's funny because it segues right into the topic. When you're
Mhm.
trying to get out of your own way, it's real easy to talk yourself out of it or have someone unintentionally talk you out of doing something when you're pursuing your goal. Like you can like run something by somebody and they go, oh no, that's stupid. And then you sat back for 5 years because someone told
Yeah,
you that it was stupid. But shout out to Tia for not doing that, for
yeah.
me and following my passion and my dreams. So all
Don't
right.
let anyone downplay your potential.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
and I got Mimi from DC, so we good.
Hey.
All right, so let's jump into it. I sent you ladies the questions earlier today. I do apologize for not sending them out. I tried to get them out by Monday. So I do apologize for not getting them out to you guys earlier. But let's jump into it. What did you guys think when I sent you the topic, or what do you think about this topic? It's just like pride and how it affects me. Like, what were your initial thoughts?
Uh-oh. Did we lose our audio?
Yeah, I think you're talking, but I lost you again. If you have AirPods in here, sometimes the AirPods get stupid when we're using this app. Oh. I couldn't tell because the hair is on fleek.
Indeed.
You can't see the earphones when the hair is flowing like that. I see you laughing and stuff, but we still can't hear what you're saying. So, while Tia works it out, Mimi, you mind just jumping on the
No,
first one?
I jump in. So my initial thoughts was, wow, this is a very tough topic to discuss, to kind of like mill over with people and to get honest feedback in reference to pride and how people view it and perceive it. And, you know, yeah, pride is what J. Cole say, pride is the devil. Think it got a hold of me, so it's a tough topic.
Yeah, I listened to a couple of like talks while I was at work earlier today about pride and people's thought. I actually went on YouTube and I just put in pride in men and watched the videos, and I saw a lot of this like ego, 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 and I got Tia back. All right, and so when I was on YouTube and I hear you now, Tia. I heard the mic shuffle.
Mhm.
um, but when I saw this stuff about like pride and ego, I'm like, well, dang, like pride has become so prevalent in the male community that men have changed it from pride and started calling it this term ego, right? And not only has they started calling it ego, most of the videos I saw were how to deal with the male ego, how to stroke the male ego. And I'm like,
Right.
it should not be on a woman to check my pride. Like, it's not the woman in my life's job to check my pride, to control my pride, to do things because I'm a prideful individual. So,
Right.
um, that was something that really stood out to me when I came up with the topic. I don't want to rant too much. I want to give Tia the floor. What was your initial
He said,
thoughts with the
right.
topic?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a needed one. In my personal experience, this is pride has been like the hardest thing to deal with involving a male for me. So I thought that it was definitely a topic I was interested in giving some insight just with my personal
Yeah.
experiences on.
Yeah, that was good stuff. All right, so that's good. So that was the easy question. I try to make the first question really simple, just to get the nerves out, to get the juices flowing a little bit, and then boom, I hit you with a nice difficult one. So this is fun because, like, Mimi, I know you're married. Tia, I know you have not gotten married yet. So we have, the perspective from you as a married woman, and Tia as, a single woman that's still in the dating world. Um, how have you seen pride manifest in the men that you have encountered?
Whew. Mimi, you want me to take this one first?
Go ahead. I went first last time because I'm married, so it might be a little long for me.
You know what? So I actually, when I thought about this topic, I instantly thought about like the last kind of serious relationship I was in, and I had to literally text my ex and say, "Hey, do you mind if I like kind of elaborate on our relationship for a little bit on Facebook?" And we're really, really close friends. So he's like, "Yeah, go ahead." I'm like, "Just don't tune in, but you'll be fine." Um, but yeah, I mean, and that how I see it manifest is two ways. So I think it's a good way of pride, and then it's a demolishing way of pride. And the pride in that relationship that I experienced as a woman was actually the reason why I felt that there was like no need to really pursue it moving forward. But the biggest thing was just like the lack of vulnerability. It was the need to like kind of always show up and show up in a way that almost felt like inhuman. So it felt like, wow, for me as a woman, just with my background, I'm always having to show a sense of pride outside. So in my relationship is where I really value to be vulnerable. And that other side for me with the man, I really need that. And who it was just always like, I think it was mainly like a hunch on the back for me with men that show up for me is they can't really pursue or really say, well, you know what, I want to just really let my guard down. I want to be present. I don't always have to be like kind of like this macho man. Like I can just really be myself. So I just felt like I was kind of in a relationship for a couple years with someone who I really never got a chance to know, but always like kind of stood up and did things well.
And for you, Tia, have you found that as a successful woman, as a successful realtor, as someone who comes off as like the picture of like this independent woman, with the success that you have done with your personal ventures and in your personal life, how have you found that has impacted like the men that you date when like you're with some guy and you're like, I don't really need your money, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Like, how does that manifest itself?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. I think when people may see me on the outside and really don't understand me like in a relationship kind of way, that's me on the outside in the outside world, and I'm that way because I have to be in the sense of me being a business owner. I have to show up or show a level of pride and sensibility. The way I parent, I have to show that. So it's really no room. I think the pride that I show is mainly like being able to hold my head up, walk confidently, and I think there's a difference. But then when I get into a relationship, especially with the male as a woman, is my distinction and my desire to just kind of be weak and to just say like, I want to be this with you. So on the opposite side of that, and what I found out after that experience for me was that he felt like he had to kind of constantly show up, and my life was a new experience for him. So he's like, I never dated a woman who was so busy or had so much going on, and he just had to always find, well, how can I be helpful in your life? How can I find the need in your life? When I really didn't need for him to do that. I just needed to build like a trusting relationship and vulnerable place. And that was what I mainly desired. So I think it was just like, separate pages. So yeah, so that's so contrary. I think that both male and female have different perspectives, but I think that like a communication there of how pride shows up in a relationship, that definitely needs to be discussed.
Yeah. Mimi, as a married lady.
I'm just gonna come out the gate and say it's actually no different from me being married, vice her being single or dating. I did the same thing. I kind of ran this topic past my husband, um, just to kind of get a sense of how he felt about pride and as it relates to him. And we were just having a conversation this past weekend, and we were talking about the lack of vulnerability and why that is. And I had to tell him, I think you're so worried about the fact that I don't need you,
Mm,
but I want you.
mm,
And men are so conditioned to feel like their pride has to make
mm,
them feel like they need to be needed. When really there's so many women out here, much like Tia, myself, we don't really need a man, but we want a man. So it makes it hard for them to kind of step back and say, okay, they really need me emotionally. They don't need
mm,
me financially. And what I discussed with him is, because he asked me a counter question. He was like, how do you feel like my pride has affected me? And I was like, oh, this is perfect, because the question was basically, how have I seen pride affect men in my life?
mm.
Um, and a lot of times I feel like men's pride like bubbles to the surface because they're not truly happy with themselves for
Yeah.
one reason or another, or they don't really know themselves.
Mm,
Let's just be honest. I think a lot of young males were raised to follow the rules, do what someone told them to do, um, show up a certain way,
mm,
perform in a certain way. So they don't really know how to find themselves so that they don't have to deal with what you said, ego.
mm,
And it makes it really hard for men to be then communicative, intimate, deal with their finances properly, um, just dealing with interpersonal relationships, sometimes work. It shows up in so many negative ways, but there are also positives about it. But I feel like what happens is the negatives outweigh the positives of pride and ego.
Yeah, so I saw something. It's funny. Tia, when you clicked off, I was saying I watched a few YouTube videos today
Mm,
about pride, and in one of them, the guy said pride, when mixed with any other emotion, becomes like a bad thing. Like because
Mm.
it causes you to express things poorly. It causes you to
mhm,
communicate those emotions poorly. It causes you to to like so if they're defining pride as someone like this inflated sense of self-worth, and when it comes to like a negative context, like don't get me wrong, of course there's great things, like you should be proud if you worked hard and got a raise. That's something to be proud of. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like this sense of I don't need no help, I have to do it myself, I'm good, like no one can see me weak. when you mix that with love, no one can see me weak, but I want to love you. But you can't see me weak, but I want to show you this love. Like that becomes rough, and you get some of these guys who are, like Tia said, super guarded, not willing to open up. But they'll pay for your bills. They'll pay for your rent. They'll move you in. Like they'll do these things for you. But when it comes to open up, I'm not putting up for you. I'm too proud to do that. So
but that's because men are action based and not emotion based.
Yeah. And I also want to say this just to kind of play devil's advocate. I typically don't do this, but I do want to do it in this end. So I have actually dated someone before I've dated multiple before who made like a pretty penny more than me. And I've been in situations where that's been kind of like thrown in my face as a male. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I make more than you. Like, my next person needs to make more than this amount. Like someone flat out told me before, like my next boyfriend has to make at least 80 a year because I want to be taken care of in a way that you're not doing for me right now. And at the time, I'm fresh out of college. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in a relationship with an RN fresh out of college. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't do what I'm supposed to do to that. Like
I'm gonna live up to that.
No, I get it.
I mean, not every female is like that. I probably made more money than pretty much every male I've dated, with the exception of my husband. We've probably always been on the same playing field as far as finances are concerned, because of the type of work we do. So, and even when I was dating, I kind of didn't care about any of that. And I mean, guys in this area, they didn't care about it either. They were just like, I'm good. You taking care of everything. You don't need nothing from me. I'm fine with it. But I will say I've seen instances where finances and pride become a problem in a relationship. And it's literally one of the biggest reasons why divorce happens, because people's pride and money. And then also I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about how men that are they're conditioned to feel like they have to, do certain things like go take women out on dates, buy gifts, vacations and things like that. And they're ending up going above and beyond their means and putting themselves in a hole because their pride won't let them say, I don't got it. I don't have it. I can't do it. Not this month. Like maybe we can save and plan, because they don't want to seem like they're not a man that can provide those things that the world is saying women want.
Yeah.
No, Mimi, I definitely agree with that. I think that it'll be foolish to say that all women and men are the same in that area. Like for me personally, like same kind of boat. Most men that I date don't make as much as I do, and finances are important. It's definitely important to talk about. But like my requirement for a man is that before I enter the picture, you should be able to take care of yourself, and if you have children, your children as well. Yep. So forget taking care of me, but you should be able to do that before I even enter the picture. And if you can, let's work on the rest and build together from there. So I think that, I think it's important, of course, not to be silent about it. And obviously I understand like a man's pride that come along with that. But it's just really, really important, once again, just to be open. I think, Jimmy, I'm kind of looking at the comments Reese's you're putting up, said some important things. Like he was just saying, like men want to feel like they're helping, and they want to be a help to their woman in the need. And I think that for men, it's hard when you're dating a woman that may make more to figure out, well, like what can I help her with, because she can't get all these things herself. And that's why I think, once again, going back to that vulnerability, have you had a conversation to say, honey, babe, whatever, what do you need help with, or how can we be a team together, instead of just assuming the ways you are helping is good. Like I've had men buy a number of things, shower me with gifts, do all these things, and none of that stuff I cared about. I just wanted to come home to a safe place, be comfortable, tell you about my hard day, you tell me about yours, let's watch some ratchet TV and go to bed.
Exactly.
That's what I need.
Exactly. Like the comment said, he said, I need you to need me. And that's the problem. Like, but need you how? Like, can I tell you how I need you? And not how you need me to need you. Like, again, for me, financially, I probably can handle stuff on my own. But I might forget to pay a parking ticket. I might not want to deal with the spiders. I don't mow grass. I'm not taking out the trash.
I hate the trash.
And it's just like, so I was like, hey, look, I'm not good at this kind of stuff. So what I need for you to do is this. We good with that? But I feel like it's kind of tough to have those conversations because again, it's so ingrained in men that they have to be doing certain things to feel like they're performing as a man, and it's never a problem. Like, nah, like I might can pay all the bills, but I might need you to do all the household stuff, like the roof leaking, something wrong with the car. Help me go get the kids in the evening so I can go work out. People just don't want to have that conversation because they want to look like what the world says things should look like, and folks are not of the premise of saying, let's do what works for us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that's
And I think
pride
this,
too.
yeah, I think this comment from Kelly is exactly where I wanted to go. I think that in a sense, like as a male, I've been trained provide, find a woman, take care of her. You remove that from the table, like, okay, she doesn't need my money, she doesn't need me to provide for her. What else can I do? And I think that I probably had this conversation with you in private before, Tia, but like I've had conversations with women before where I'm like, well, like sex aside, where are you bringing to the table? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I live by myself. You know, I have two children, so I've already reproduced. I have a vehicle. Like, I don't need anyone to cook for me. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So, like, taking sex off the table, what are you providing? I found that some women have struggled to answer that question. And from what you guys are saying, taking providing and finances and stuff off the table, men are struggling to say, well, what
Yes.
can I do for her? Like, if I can't pay her bills
Yeah.
and, move her in with me and, like, what am I bringing to the table? So I think that, I thank you for that comment, one Kelly. That's Tia's sister, by the
Yeah.
way. Hey, Kelly.
Hi,
Hey, sis.
Kelly. But her point was very good. Her
Right.
point is spot on.
So I think that that's part of where it comes in, that when it's a pride thing. It's like, if my whole life I've been told, get to a point where you can take care of somebody. And to the point that I was making about the young lady that I was with that made more than me. I remember one time we went to go see a Latin on Broadway up in New York. And I was trying to get a car that summer, and I hadn't, my credit just wasn't good enough to get a car note yet. So I got the nod. So I had all this money in the bank because I was ready to like buy a car. So I was like, let's go to New York. Everything going to be, you get whatever you want. I felt amazing. Like, I paid for the tickets to the show. We had good tickets. We went out and got drinks afterwards. I paid for the hotel room. I probably dropped, like, on a small little trip to New York, I probably dropped like close to $1,500 in like one night. But it felt
Easy.
great. You know what I'm saying? Between like the room, the hotel. Of course, not just in like spending money. I'm talking about like getting
No,
in
got you.
the room, the tickets to the show, and everything. But like, it just felt amazing to me because I was like, wow, like this is great. Like, when I really get to this point in life where I can do this on a regular, it'll be amazing. But
Yeah.
then things kind of like normalized out after that.
Got your
Um,
car.
but I think that's like, you guys are making amazing points about this whole pride and providers and how you have seen that in men. So I know I had the next question prepared, but like I said in the intro message, like sometimes I like to deviate. But what can we do about that as men? Like what can we do about that as men? Like, if I feel like, damn, like I have to be her provider, but Shorty making 120 a year right now, and I'm doing all right. I'm bringing in like, like 50, 60, but that still ain't 120. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what can I bring to the table? Like, how A, can we as men better that? And B, how do you feel as a woman? Because I just saw a comment earlier today on a Facebook post. Somebody like screenshot a message with them and a family member, and it was like 36 unread messages. And somebody was like, wow, why don't you check your other messages? And she was like, well, they're not about money. And that's a woman that I saw. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm a man on the outside and I see that message, that's what I'm thinking in my mind, like, dang, yo, I'm not going to talk to her because obviously that's all she cares about right now. So how do we, A, as men, bridge this gap, and B, as women, how do we open up this dialogue a little more clearly? So,
Hmm.
Um, for me, I feel like I push therapy hard for men.
mm,
I really do because again, men are told, you can't show emotion, you can't man up, you got to man up, you can't, be weak, you can't cry. So men don't have communicative skills to have conversations, to express their feelings, to be vulnerable, to even have those kind of conversations with women. Because in talking to my husband, I was like, yeah, providing for me looks like I'm safe, you making sure
Yes.
I'm protected. I don't have to worry about hurt, harm, or danger. You are careful with my feelings. You allow me to be vulnerable without judgment. Um, there's some level of like, intimacy that's non-sexual, because everybody thinks intimacy has to be sexual. Um, things like that. The quality time is there. You are mindful of my feelings and my thoughts, my good days, my bad days. For me, that's providing for me because, again, financially, I'm good with or without. Never throw that in his face, but he knows it. So it's like, guys, it's not really always about money. Like sometimes women just really need you to be there for them in a emotional capacity, not financial.
Right. I mean, really, I agree with Mimi 1,000%. And just to hop on, like, over communicate with each other, and really do it in the beginning, and not like
Yes.
after a year, after sex, after all these things kind of played into part and kind of like dim it out. Because I'm not sure where, I mean, providing, we always think about it and relatively speaking to money, but that's
Yeah.
not always what it can mean. So when I think about when I want a partner in my life, I think, how can this person be an enhancement to my life? Like, my life should be better because you're in it. So
Yep.
it's providing what I'm weak in some areas. We're all weak in some areas.
Exactly.
Do you have strengths in those areas? And if I'm weak in those areas and you're strong, you are enhancing me. So like you said earlier, I don't like to take out the trash. Shoot, I missed trash day last week. But when I'm in a relationship,
That would be
I
me.
I communicate. I say, listen, when I'm with a man, I would love for you to come over and take out the trash on trash nights. And that may sound silly, but that's a need for me. I don't like touching it. I don't want to bring it out. I don't like having it. Things, it could be anything. It could be
Yeah.
anything. You can have money, but may not be good with money. Are you
Right.
managing your money well? So one may be bringing in money, doesn't mean they're managing. So one could be the money manager, one could be the money maker. So I
Yeah.
think we just really need to change our perspectives about what it means to provide. And don't get me wrong, there will be some women where men will make more and women will make less, and that
Less.
man will need to provide monetarily in that way. But I'm just speaking
Yeah.
from a perspective, if the woman does make more, like, how can that work? And it definitely can, by
Yeah.
over communicating with each other what the needs are up front, for sure.
Exactly. I mean, it really, if you just prioritize each other, I think all this kind of goes out the window because in prioritizing one another, you pretty much have done what I project management, a SWOT analysis. You know whose strength, weaknesses, the opportunities and threats are in your relationship, and you guys can move accordingly and kind of like adjust yourselves and say, hey, look, so you know that I am very forgetful about paying the mortgage. So can you handle that or make sure that's on auto pay? Hey, I am not good with calling so and so to make sure that everything is set for certain plans that we have. I don't keep the calendar. Can you keep the calendar for our schedule of events? It's
Mhm.
really just about being able to sit down and have an honest conversation about the things that you are good at and the things that you're not good at, where you lack, where you need some assistance, and how you can help one another. Because I feel like, again, men are taught you provide this way. This is how you provide. This is
Yeah.
what it looks like to provide. Like, again, I was telling Maurice before we started the show, I've been living on my own since I left for college. 99, 1999. I have
Don't
not
age
been
don't
back
date
home.
yourself, Mimi. Don't date
I
yourself.
I am 40 years old, and people never imagine it. I'm 40 years old, and I literally lived on my own for the longest time. Came home from college, got my own apartment, um, and it wasn't until we were getting engaged that I moved in with him. And I was adamant about we need to live together so I can see what your habits are, how you move, things that you do that I don't like, vice versa, to know when we're going into the relationship where we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, if people are not honest about those kind of things with
Yeah.
themselves and their spouse, it leads for a long road of turmoil in your relationship. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna be honest, it's been a big challenge in our relationship because also how you're raised. I was raised to be
Yeah.
very independent, very domineering, like very headstrong. I'm a very intelligent individual, very educated, and my parents was just like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure you don't need anyone beyond us. If you find someone, great, but it won't be because you need them. Which is why I always have the conversation. I don't need you. I want you. And you should want me to want you because I feel like when somebody needs you, they're not with you because they really love you. It's they're with you because of what you can do for them. When you
Mm,
want somebody, it goes beyond just I need you to provide for me in a certain way.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah, I just feel like people really need to start being a little more transparent about the things that they struggle with. Um, Knowing the difference in how you're raised and kind of like working within those differences so that you can recalibrate your relationship and y'all can have some type of cohesion and synergy. And if you don't do that, you're asking for trouble from the beginning, just flat out. I'm not even going to sit here and cap. So.
I love that. I got a comment from Jimmy again. I like the energy on this show, and then he put it up as I was thinking, like, "Yo, this episode, mad gems." Like, I'm gonna rewatch it in the morning, and I'm gonna be chopping it up, and I'm like, man, like,
Let
I'm
it
like,
roll.
quotables. Like, I got a bunch of quotables from this one right here.
What is not call a man? Mimi, you dropping bars. And I'm like,
Yeah, definitely, man.
doing what I do.
Um, so let's flip the script here. I know we talked about some things that guys can do. So let me ask you guys, how does pride impact women in ways that we
Oh,
might not know about?
man.
Yeah.
I
Pride is a. Oh, go ahead, Mimi.
no,
Go ahead.
no, you go because I didn't already say pride is the devil. That's like that's it. That's pride is the devil.
No, I mean pride affects women honestly for me based on what we've been talking about the same way it does for a man. And mainly because of the way I grew up and what my circumstances are right now. Like I was raised by a single mother and a grandmother who are women who were both headstrong, who both provided for their household. My
Yeah,
grandmother raised 8 children on her own after her husband
Mm,
passed away. So she had to be strong, and she was the core person who really chimed in and raised me. So I was definitely raised that way. And now having a daughter who I am raising as well, it's just it show up. It definitely shows up in
yeah,
ways. And I find myself, and I will say over the last few years, I've been working on my pride intentionally. But it is easy for me as a woman to say, F this. I'm walking away. I don't need to deal with this. I don't, like I can do better than this, or whatever, have that kind of attitude instead of
yeah,
wanting to come to the table, work things out, because that's the way. I don't want to let my guard down. So just as I'm saying to men, I can turn that around back on myself to say
yeah,
I do experience those moments where I'm just like, forget it. And that's my pride really getting in the way and not allowing myself to be human, not allowing my heart to feel or just be vulnerable as well. So I think it shows up mainly for me as what someone will say a independent or a strong woman or whatever you can proclaim it to be. It will show up the same way for me as a man.
yeah. I know when I was dating, it definitely like affected my communication and my trust and like, the accountability and just dealing in reality. And it was just so, oh, I'm not married. I don't have to deal with this. I can just easily move along, move around you. But in becoming, someone's wife, it's not that easy. So now I have to kind of earn his trust for him to want to feel vulnerable enough to have those kind of conversations with me. Learning like how or what's comfortable for him to communicate. I just learned that my husband felt like when he tries to talk about his issues, people make it about themselves. So then he doesn't want to talk. So okay, now I understand why we have conversations. When things turn a certain way, you shut down.
mm,
Um, and then it's like, some people don't like to be held accountable. So it makes it hard to feel like you can have those honest conversations with people because then you get a lot of pushback and it just seems like it's going to become argumentative. And you're just like, oh, I don't really want to deal with that. And I think it makes women resentful.
mm,
It makes women, it causes intimacy issues in your relationship.
mm,
It causes trust issues. It causes financial issues. It causes your relationship, with other people because now you're so disgruntled and disheartened that, and you're trying to keep a lot of that, under wraps because you don't want to embarrass yourself, your pride, and then now you're worrying about embarrassing him, so now you're dealing with his pride and ego. And I think it causes women to carry a lot on their shoulders, and it's a hard burden to bear because we as women, I feel like, understand that our men don't have it easy. So we're trying to be mindful of that. And some men are just not comfortable feeling like they can come home and say, man, I had a long day at work. This woman pissed me off. I really wanted to smack her. But, they get the, oh, you complaining about somebody at work? Like, just ignore her. But then women can come home and be like, you know what this girl at work said? And it's like, see, I talk about this with Nine Reese all the time. And it's just like, I got it, guys. So I think it makes it hard for women because we're not sure which direction we need to go in order to deal in, ego and pride and how to make it a positive versus a negative. So it's just really hard for women. I really feel like it's very hard for women.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know Tia, when you kind of had the error, I was saying how like the term pride in the male community, we hear this word ego all the time when it comes to men. And when you ladies were talking, and I was like, well, how would this, like, if pride is ego for men, what would the word be for women? And petty popped in my head, and that's all I hear. I'm petty. I'm so petty. I'm petty. I'm petty. I'm petty. And
I see it.
pettiness is probably a direct result of a prideful woman. When you're so prideful,
Yeah.
and instead of just saying, yeah, I was wrong, or hey, I messed up, or let me go work this out with somebody, you do little like stuff to like let it fester, or like they kind of like put gasoline on a fire there. Am I wrong for
No, a lot of women are very petty. They do a
okay?
lot of petty things. Now, for me, I'm stubborn. So it's like now, okay, I didn't try to talk to you about it. You don't want to talk about it. I'm not gonna pull teeth. Like you're a grown man. You should be able to talk to me. So now I'm just gonna walk around here like you're not here. Now I'm
Mm,
just gonna not tell you what I'm doing or where I'm going. I'm not gonna ask you want something to eat for dinner. I'm just gonna be stubborn and like when you're ready to talk to me, come to me.
mm-hmm,
That's kind of stubborn. But you got women out here that's like, oh man, they make little petty posts on Facebook, put their business out there. Just that makes it worse, to be honest,
Yeah.
because now you're putting him out there. Like people know you married, they know who you're talking about. So it's just like, but definitely, I would say along with petty, the word stubborn is
mm.
Mhm.
definitely how women are impacted. Like
Look
from,
at your sister,
And
Tia.
and women,
Look at your sister.
I got nothing.
Look at her. Look at her. And
He said
I'm
I
not going to put
got
you on blast, Bob Kelly, but
no. I mean, I do always say, I mean, my sister is the ideal mate. She really is, because
nothing.
Lord knows I've watched her. But I really think women as I always talk to other women as well, it's really hard for us to just sit back and say I'm wrong,
mm,
or to even, it's really hard for us to also hear our men, which is why I
mm,
think it's a part of what the shutdown from our men, and why they don't communicate with us, where that really comes from. So even from me, we can have let's say my man and I are having a disagreement. I may have my side, he has his side. But as a woman, I'm like, I'm focused on, listen, I need you to understand me. I need you to get my point,
mm,
to the point where I'm not even
Hmm.
trying to hear him. I'm not
Yeah.
understanding it. And it may have been something that I did to hurt him, but I'm not able to even acknowledge that because I'm so focused on
mm,
myself. So I
Yeah.
think women really have a hard time with just saying, like, Dag Big, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Or I
mm,
hear you and I acknowledge your feelings. It may not be because we feel different as just men and women. God created us just in different ways. We feel different. And I think because of that, because we don't communicate as much and we don't understand it, we may say, well, that's it. That's what you mad for. That's not that deep. That's not in comparison to what I had to experience with this. And it doesn't mean that because it wasn't our experience, it doesn't matter. So I think just being able to, just as a woman, being able, this is for myself, to take a step back and say, I acknowledge what you're saying. I'm taking in what you're saying, and I apologize if that made you feel that way. Like, even if
Yeah.
I don't agree, I don't want to make you feel that way, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah. I call it
yeah,
the
I
agree to
think
disagree.
that's not apologizing, Mimi.
Well, no, 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 no. I didn't say that's what I say. I do. So listen, I will
I know you
honestly
say that out there.
say,
I get that a lot, but
yeah, I
like
will. I will
I
honestly
haven't gotten.
say,
I'm sorry, a lot. I will say we just going to agree to disagree when you walk away. That
oh
doesn't, you
no,
know, like
mm-mm,
if we're creating clarity, if you say whatever, we just got to agree to disagree. When I know darn well, like I'm in the right and you're in the wrong, it's like that doesn't do anything but create me like next time an issue comes up, I'm not even about to talk to her about this. Like I'll try to
right,
handle it without her knowing, or um things like that. But I agree wholeheartedly with what you guys are saying, especially about the listening thing, because I talk to a lot of men, obviously. And one thing that I've learned is that there's a lot of men who have never been listened to, like at no stage of their life, like from like mom, sisters, brothers, older men.
Yeah.
Like you figure, like up until you turn like 25, older people don't listen to you anyway because they just think you
Right.
young and don't know nothing. And then like you get into these relationships at like 25, and if your spouse doesn't listen to you, there's so many men who shut down because, like you guys are saying, like they have never. It didn't just start in your relationship. It's something like years and years of not being listened to. And sometimes if
Yeah.
you just take a second and say, "Hey, what's going on?" or "Hey, I care," like I say it all the time, like in this stage of dating that I'm in life. Like I meet women sometimes, and if I say something in a conversation and I hear it reiterated down the road, it legit shocks me. Like they're like, "Oh well, I noticed that you said earlier that you blah blah you like blah blah blah, so I want to get you that." I'm like, "Huh? Like
Attention
really?
to detail.
You listening to me? You heard me? Like that's amazing. Like
That's
and
funny.
like it's so small, and like I've talked to a lot of men who say, well, men are pretty simple creatures. Just listen, they'll tell you what they want. But that's why I agree when you guys are saying like, yeah, a lot of women aren't listening, and that's why they say they don't know what they want, because and men also, in my experience, men also aren't repeaters. Like they're very much like a, hey, I really like if you do blah blah blah. It don't happen, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of how we operate. So that's something that we can work on. But that's why I think that the listening dynamic is very important. And Tia, I've been in situations exactly like what you're saying, like you're going back and forth, and like you're trying. As soon as you start to talk and say your part, boom, she butt in with da da da, and I'm like, no, I understand what you're saying, but hear me out. No, but da 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 da. No, no, no. Listen, I understand what you're saying. Like, let me respond. No, now I give up because, like,
Yeah.
for me, like, if you're not interested in listening, I'm not interested in talking. Like, that's okay. I save my breath. You save your airstrip. You know what I'm saying? We good.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah. I think it's a matter of validating one another's feelings. And that's what I was getting at with the
absolutely.
agree to disagree. Because it's like, I hear you. I feel this way. You feel this way. We
mm-hmm,
don't necessarily agree, but we hear each other out. We understand each other's, viewpoints on this, where we're coming from. So how do we move forward from here? And a lot of conversations don't even make it that far because people are just like you said, you're not listening. You cut me off. You
mm-hmm,
ain't hearing what I'm saying. You're not understanding. I'm fed up. I don't want to do it no more. And then it becomes a perpetuated cycle of those type of conversations in a relationship, and it just doesn't really do anyone any justice.
mm-hmm.
No, I definitely. I mean, I think it's important to really acknowledge it's like us as women, as we're, if we may get into disagreements with our men, but what I'm really learning is just to stop and take a second. And as I'm
Mhm.
listening, like at the end of that, just really validate the feelings. Like
Yeah,
someone can feel some type of way and you may disagree, but that doesn't mean that won't stop them from feeling that type of way. So
right.
people's feelings are valid. And I think it's important, especially for us as women, to stop and pause and say, you know what, Dag, now that I hear you out, I understand how
Right.
you could have taken it that way, although I didn't mean it that way. And I think that's a
Exactly.
good way to really validate it before moving on to figure out the solution. I think people really want to feel validated in what they feel. And that's a
Exactly.
way for us as women to say, we hear you. And I think that that's a good way for our men to then start to kind of get their guard down with us and really start trusting us with their hearts and their
Yeah,
feelings.
I agree.
I tend to think that human beings aren't inherently evil. Like I think that we all meet some people who do bad things and do wrong things to us. But I tend to think that human beings aren't inherently bad people. Like I think that sometimes you just meet somebody at a stage in life where they might just be learning or growing, and
Mhm.
sometimes you're the unfortunate. Like you're on an unfortunate receiving end on someone else's growth, and I think that's where a lot of hurt happens in
Yeah,
our life. Like this is we don't got nothing to do with you. Like it might be the guy that you were dating in your early 20s. He was going through a growing process, but you were the example that
yeah,
God was giving him to grow. So with that being said, when disagreements tend to happen, I try to be very slow to get angry. Um, because like I'm like, all right, give me understanding. That's something else that I heard in that video I heard. Like understanding is so important to
Yeah.
like
yeah,
resolving issues. Like so if I'm just like, let's say we got date at 8 o'clock. If I just show up at 8:30 with no context, yes, you have a right to be upset. But if I'm like, nah, my babysitter canceled at 7:30, I had to hurry up and scramble and run my, son to the other side of the city. Then I got stuck in traffic. Then I got a flat tire. Now at 8:30, you know what I'm saying? That turns to you. Now, you might still be a little annoyed, but it's a different thing versus like, oh no, I just showed up at 8:30 all willy nilly. So I think that understand. Oh, what happened? I think that creating understanding is very important. But my phone just like clicked. I don't know what that's about. Don't do that to me, Android. Don't do that to me, Android Live.
Come on over to this iPhone.
We didn't even see anything, so you're good.
So that's that. All right, we got a little bit more than 10 minutes left, depending on how the conversation goes. I don't know how many questions y'all got, but I'm going to put myself on the hot seat here. Probably let's get my better judgment. I'm going to put myself on the hot seat here. And you ladies get the chance to ask me anything, prod or anything, just related that you guys would like to know about men. And I'll do my best to answer on behalf of my gender.
So I know for me, I kind of touched on it earlier because I think me doing therapy solo for myself to deal with a lot of my traumas. Do you feel like men would benefit from some type of therapy and counseling, like before they really start seriously dating or get into, a relationship or marriage, that might then help them learn to communicate a little better and deal with their pride versus ego situation?
Yes, it's a short answer. I just want to say, anybody watching, feel free to put questions in the comments as well. We'll try to get to them as many as we can. But I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I think that if you're Black, regardless of your upbringing, you need therapy because of the racial stuff that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. I think that if you grew up in the hood, you definitely need therapy because if you grew up in the hood, you normalize so many traumatic experiences. Right. I think that a lot of Black men are opposed to therapy because when you think about someone being in therapy, you think about mental health. Think about the crazy. It must be something wrong with them. And to the point that we made earlier, like men struggle with showing that weakness. And the reason that I went to therapy was honestly because my older brother one day was like, "Yeah, I went to therapy," and I'm like, "You went to therapy? Like you got it together. If you went to therapy and you got it together, I definitely need to take my little crazy behind the therapy." So that's how I went. So I think that that's how we kind of break that mold over it is the guys who are in therapy. And you don't got to go into detail like, yeah, I unpacked this, and that. But I think it's okay to, if somebody hits you up like, "Yeah, you trying to go and get drinks?" Nah, man, I got therapy tonight. Yeah. Like, that's how you do it. Like, you don't got to go into detail. And they're like, "Therapy? Yeah, man, I've been going for the last couple of weeks. It's really helpful. You should try it." Like, you could leave it at that. But I think that it absolutely would help. I think that men need therapy. I think Black people need therapy. I think people who grew up in the hood need therapy. You got all three of them together. You need therapy. And then whatever you experienced in life. You know what I'm saying? So, like, those are three things that, like, you just might have been born in. The hood, Black, male or female. And then whatever the heck you went through in your life, you also need to deal with. So, you'll sit in that therapy session and start crying about something that happened in 1993.
You thought you had just tucked away.
You'll sit in that therapy session and you'll figure out that the reason that you're always mad at your woman is because your mom always yelled at you for whatever. Like, you'll sit in that therapy session and find out the reason that you're attracted to a certain kind of woman is because you didn't get this from home. Like, you'll find so many things. The reason that you struggle to commit to a woman is because as a child, blah, blah, blah happened. There's so many things that you will discover about yourself. So I highly recommend therapy. Please go.
Yeah.
Please go.
How do we remove the stigma and the pride piece for therapy, though? Like, I feel like if people don't talk about it, we don't know it's okay. And a lot of people have a pride issue in discussing the fact that they're in therapy because of potentially what they're in therapy for.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I missed the end of the question.
So how do we remove the pride and stigma of therapy in order for men to go and deal with some of those things?
So I think the way we remove the stigma is just to have the conversation with your friends. It's not I think a lot of times delivery matters and who the deliverer is matters. So it's going to be tough for me to get your husband me in therapy because we don't have any prior relationship. But like I said, when my older brother came to me and said, "Oh, hey, I'm in therapy," I'm like, "Oh, whoa, okay." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't my girlfriend who I've been arguing with for the past 5 years, who I know she crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because we're in a
Right.
relationship. This is like my brother. This is my close friend. This is somebody that I've known since 2000. I've known since '95. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the person who's pushing this. I think that the way that we break those stigmas is to start having conversations. Like, we get so secretive about things
Yeah.
in the Black community. Like we hide illnesses, we hide mental illnesses, we hide
Yeah.
when we get evicted, we hide so much stuff because we
Right.
always want to perceive like we got it all together. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it's something that my brother commented on last week, but I say it all the time. Strength is not hiding your weakness. That is not strong, acting like nothing's going on. Strength is saying, I'm messed up right now. I need help
Yeah.
right now. I'm depressed right now. I'm struggling financially right now. Some of the strongest things that I've seen my friends do. I had a friend that was between child support who called me and said, "Yo, can you order me a Chinese food platter? I haven't had it in a while. I'm hungry."
Yeah.
That's strength. I had a friend who had a death in the family and said, "Yo, I'm depressed. Can you get the friends together? We don't got to go nowhere. I just want to be around the friends." That's strength.
Yeah.
Those are some of the strongest things that I've seen men do. It's reach out in those moments of weakness.
Yeah.
Not just show up, laugh, and act like nothing's going on and leave and go home and cry and go home and suffer. So I think that's how we break that stigma.
Put it out to the public.
Mm. Awesome. So, Reese, my question is
Don't do me bad, Tia.
I'm not. This is all good stuff. So what's the worst thing a woman can do to diminish or tamper with your pride in a negative way? And then what's the best thing a woman can do to enhance your pride in a good way?
Awesome question.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that you can do to a man's pride is to literally put him down. The harshest thing I've heard in the confines of a relationship was, "You don't want no better. I can do better than you. You don't make enough money. You don't look good enough. You're not handsome enough." Those
It's tough.
5 quotes I heard in the relationship before, and those are things that to this day I struggle with because those are things that someone implanted. And I've talked about this in the past. There are times, and look, shout out to all the mothers out there. Mothers are amazing. Single mothers are amazing. But we're being completely honest. Sometimes the mother-son dynamic, a lot of times the mother-son dynamic is very toxic. So when you translate that to a romantic relationship, this is what you're taught as a man is the epitome of love, right? The mother son dynamic. Like not as a man, like just in the world, like there's no love like a mother's love. Like
Yep.
there is God and then there is mom. It actually might be mom then God if we being honest, the way that people talk about it. But if all you heard your mom do was curse at you, curse at you, curse at you, show up for your graduation, curse you out, put you down, yell at you, show up to the prom, how am I supposed to love a woman romantically if that's my experience with the best love? So I think that being mindful to be gentle with your words, being mindful to not be harsh with your words, being mindful to just be thoughtful, listening. Sometimes like it's just nice to say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, like you send a good morning, beautiful text. Well, not the beautiful, you know what I'm saying? You send in the good morning
I
text.
like
You
it.
send in a random, hey, I'm thinking about you. You, hey, like I want to take you out. Like you doing some of those things sometimes are things that you can really do to help enhance. It's like, well, damn, like she really values me. She really likes me. She really appreciates me. And often what I have encountered, especially in a romantic aspect, is I'll meet these women. I'm like, hey, I'm interested, and I'm reaching out really heavily for like, a finite period of time, and then I'm like, this is only me, and I kind of take a step back, and communication drops off.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that sometimes taking that initiative, and again, I'm not telling you to like chase a man or anything like that. I absolutely think that men are to be pursued, or men are pursuers, I should say. Um, but I will say that sometimes just flip the tables. Hey, I'm thinking about you today. Let's go out and get something to eat on me. Okay, cool. Like, because typically, if I'm talking to a girl and she told me she want to go out, I'm thinking like, okay, I got to budget this dinner in because I know I got to pay the bill. I was like, no, I got it tonight. Let's go out on me. Let's go, what I'm saying, and do things. I think that those are ways that you can enhance the pride, that you could create a vulnerable space. Even saying like Tia and you guys said earlier, saying things like, yo, I want to listen to you. Tell me about your day. How are you feeling? What are your goals? What do you struggle with? How can I love you better? Like, that's a huge one right there. How can I love you better? What's some things that I can do to love you better, to make you feel appreciated? What do you need? And Jewel had a comment up earlier about the 5 love languages. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But those are real, right? So figuring out what his love language is and communicating in it. So like for me, my love language is words of affirmation. That's my biggest love language. So if I'm pursuing someone and I'm not hearing from them, instantly in my mind, I don't think you're interested, because that's how I receive love. Like, that's how I show and receive love, I should say. Like, so I think that that's a huge way that you could create like positive pride in a man. Like, damn, like she really loves me. And that's why you see some of them men who constantly posting a woman and constantly loving on a women, because like the women did a great job of helping build them, which is not to say that you should take a broken man and become Bob the Builder. I'm not suggesting that. But I am suggesting that, it's okay to reverse the tables from time to time. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to say, it's just nice to feel loved. And like I said earlier, a lot of men have not been listened to. A lot of men have not been loved properly. A lot of men have not had an outlet. And that's one thing I commend women for, because women do stuff. Like, they talk.
Yeah.
You guys get together and you have conversations, and like you cry together and stuff like that. Like, for what I was just saying about when my friend told me about the death in the family, when we got together, we didn't talk about the death in the family. We just got together, had some drinks, listened to some music, and joked up. And again, that was still good, but it wasn't like breaking those strongholds. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't doing no like healing for the grief process. It was just kind of like a minor distraction of what was going on. And that's typically what happens in the male community, right? Oh, you're going through something cool. Come on, let's have this minor distraction. And then you could go back to dealing with it by yourself. So just kind of encouraging him in those ways would be ways that I would say you can help build positive vibes. But negative vibes are definitely harsh words, harsh terms. Mimi, we did an episode with Nari, actually, where it was like, is physical abuse or verbal abuse worse?
I watched that one.
And we agreed, all 3 of us agreed, that verbal abuse is worse than physical abuse. So I hope that answered your question.
It did. Thank you.
Any other questions? Because if not, the hours. Got a comment from my ladies. They're amazing. They were just on. Shout out to LaShawn and Keisha, Shit Talk Radio. They're amazing. Got a comment from Kelly. It's okay for men to cry.
Indeed.
We be saying that until them tears start to fall down.
It's funny because like if I get my therapist calls it tender, then my husband will start to like tear up because I'm tearing up or crying. So it's like, no, it's okay. I'm cool with that. Like, you don't gotta be tough all the time. You don't gotta thug it out. Like, sometimes, hey man, I used to cry when I was super angry. That would be the only time I would cry because I couldn't control my frustration. So it's nice to see people cry because they're emotionally moved to do so. And I think men need to be comfortable with that. But then also kind of goes back to what Tia said. You kind of got to make it okay for those kind of things to happen. So.
Right. So you guys have any other questions for me? I don't want to cut it short. If y'all don't got anything else. Y'all good? All right, cool. That's perfect. Well, look, I'm not going to tarry on because I aimed for an hour. We had an hour and 3 minutes now. So I've been going like an hour 15, and my mom yells at me every time I go an hour and 15. So
she's keeping you on track.
Right. She's been amazingly supportive of me during this journey. And she texts me at 7:01. If I'm not live, she will text me at 7:01, like, where you at? So shout out to
That's
my mom.
For you.
I know, exactly. Right. We were talking about that earlier. It's a good thing, a gift and a curse sometimes.
You're right. Give you oh man, that's a love. My Steve, me and Steve went to high school together, man. Steve was the president of my high school. My brother, man. Thanks so much, Steve. I appreciate you stopping through, man. We gotta link up sometime. Message me your number if you still on. Message me your number, bro. But ladies, how can the people find you? What y'all got going on? I know one of y'all, got their hands in a million buckets. I'm not 100% sure what Mimi do, but I know Tia got her hands in a million buckets. How can they find
I'm actually hopping off here now and going to do a show tonight with Two Kings 215 podcast. I am currently doing some business mentoring. I used to be a mentor because somebody mentored me, and it's like kind of the greatest way to give back. So I need to, work with her on some ventures we got coming on. She does her own coffee and drinks. And she's an amazing barista. She's very passionate about it. And I'm one of those people I like to push folks when I see that they have a passion for something and I like to support them, especially young African Americans, because I think the business world is kind of hard on our people. So I'm working with her on some things. Unrestricted coffee and drinks. Check her out on IG. My IG is just being Mimi. And I have a fitness IG, Get Fit with D. I am 78 pounds down from keto. Did that all
Wow.
2019. And I tell you, it was probably the most effective thing I've done to lose weight since my wedding. Um, so yeah, and then I do PMP, project management professional, because people always ask me what that is. I kind of help people prep and get prepared for their PMP exam and things of that nature. The hardest thing for them apparently is to fill out the application, and I'm like, not study for the test, but okay. So I've been working on that, and I'm working on something that's I can't speak about as federal, so because I'm a government employee, but
yeah.
trying to break it to the CBD side of things right now. So yeah, I do a lot, but I just try to stay low key because sometimes it's just best to
Right.
make your moves and then pop out when you're ready to prepare everybody for what you got going on.
Dope stuff.
Absolutely.
See, I thought that she was gonna be talking forever. She might ask you. She
Oh
might
man,
ask you a piece.
Mimi's list got me beat. Okay.
Listen, they say an idle mind is the devil's playground, so I keep super busy.
Man. Tia.
Yeah. So y'all can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Both. Tia is my realtor. I am a realtor and real estate investor here in Philly. And I am actually working on an amazing platform to get more Black women started in real estate investing
Ooh,
right now. So that is my next goal. And if you're interested in that, a lot of that content will be on social media. Men, of course, is a platform for men, so men know that includes you as well. I already help men do it, so you can call me
yeah,
today. That program is already set up for you. But anything, like everything real estate, I love the benefits of real estate. I believe as collectively as a family, we all should have ownership of land. I think that's something that will never go away and is the key to wealth
yeah,
building and creating financial stability. So you can follow me there.
yeah. I'm gonna have to hit you up because I'm about to get a property in VA. I don't mind expanding to Philly, so
Nice. Call me.
I
Yo,
will.
I absolutely love that. By the way, like literally one of my favorite thing, maybe like my favorite thing about this show is like when I create connections and like see y'all interacting without me. So like seeing Tim come on the Two Kings podcast, they
Yeah.
met through my show. Like I
Hmm.
love that. Like
Yeah.
Wow.
that's literally like one of my favorite things about this. So like the moment I see one of y'all in each other comments, I'm gonna have a big smile on my face.
Indeed.
Over
It's
here. I'm gonna
always so great. Like, oh, support me from afar. I love it.
right. Tia, do you want to talk about Young Lives at all, or are you still involved
Yeah.
in that?
Yeah, I am still involved in Young Lives. That's still happening. That's a organization for moms that are between the ages of 13 and 21. It is an amazing resource because it's just there for mentorship. It's just a place where moms can really just be themselves, kind of let their hair down. And then there's also resources for formula and diapers and wipes. You get
Nice.
childcare for an hour, which I found is a big stressor, a stressor taken off of moms. So yeah, if you particularly are listening or you know someone, even through that T is my realtor platform, please send me a DM or a message. We are always welcoming in new moms to love on them and care for them.
Cool.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually got an opportunity to speak. Tia, we should have did that again. She asked
Yes,
me
we
to get a
need to.
panel of fathers together, or a panel of men, and just legit have the woman ask us questions for like an hour and a half straight. And
Yes.
a little uncomfortable at times.
Little firing squad.
Marie sat on that panel with me. It was me, Marie, I think AB and one of my other buddies. Actually, every guy that was on that panel has been on the show at some point. So that was amazing. And again, that might have been something, again, we talked about when you're doing great things, you don't realize that could have been something that vaulted me like, oh, I like doing this. This is great. So, but thank y'all, man. It's been amazing. Next, this is the end. Pride. September was Pride Month, not like June's Pride Month, but like,
a little different.
I covered the subject of pride. October is actually gluttony. Right before Halloween, we're gonna talk about gluttony. I have my good buddy Frank, who was a Marine, actually stationed in San Diego, who's supposed to be coming on, and my other good buddy Ishmael, who's a personal trainer in the Philadelphia and New Jersey area. We're going to talk about gluttony, and then on the second half, I have a friend of mine. Her name is Shannon, who's agreed to come on, and I'm working on another young lady to come on, who's also a fitness trainer. We're going to talk about gluttony. We're going to talk about health, the importance of that, why men don't go to the doctor. How did they get to the point of, this is so important? How do you kind of break your routine and include it in some diet and things? All of that fun stuff that we need to hear, especially in the Black community, and especially myself, because all I do is eat TV dinners and takeout. So
gotta stop that.
I'm up like 30 pounds right now too. It's actually pretty bad.
Yeah. COVID has done it to a lot of people. So
yeah, but thank you, ladies. I know you guys have a million things to do. Meet me. I'm gonna give you like your little 15-minute grace period before you go to the next one. Tia, you're the best. I just love you. Give us a follow on Instagram. Y'all see it scrolling at the bottom at the My Brother Show. I appreciate every view, every comment, every listener. I love y'all. Signing off now. Bye-bye.